Hi, welcome to Meredith College. Welcome to the art department. My name is Todd Jones. I am the gallery director and I'm also an assistant professor here in the department. I've actually had the pleasure of working with the seniors in their senior exhibition class. This semester, that's the class that I was teaching. So from this course, they created and were able to learn all the ins and outs of putting on an exhibition. And that is what they have in the gallery there. So what I'd like to do is I would like to read the press release, and then from there, we can kind of go through each individual artist will give a presentation, and I'll introduce the first person, and we'll go from there. We would ask that you please hold all questions until after the presentations, but they can be answered in the gallery. So once the artists have presented in here, we'll move back into the gallery to enjoy the rest of the reception, and then you can ask questions then. Thank you. The Frankie G. Weems Gallery at Meredith College invites you to the 2024 Senior Art Exhibition, Ruminate. Chew on this. Tasha Aaron, Kayla Cooper, Shelby Cox, Arianne Gonzalez, Sara Grace Lane, Karlie Mullis, Emma Relota, and Sara-Rose Spann are excited to showcase their unique bodies of work. The graduating artists have compiled their original artworks to culminate in the spring's thought-provoking exhibition. Aptly titled Ruminate encourages audiences to feast on the abundant narratives, social issues, and expressions of vulnerability poured into each piece with caring and intentionality. The artists developed a deep understanding of their own lives and the world around them. Through the creation of their artwork with media ranging from stone carving and ceramics to charcoal, drawings and paintings, and the exhibition evokes contemplation and conversation. The artist's only instruction is to chew on this. So please help me welcome the first artist, Tasha Aaron.
Hi, welcome everyone. So a little bit about me. My name is Tasha Aaron and I am from Clayton, North Carolina. I am a mixed media artist and common themes in my work are mythology, human emotions, and nature. So mixed media artist just means that I really enjoy working with a lot of different medias, sometimes multiple ones in one piece. Or as you'll see from my body of work in the gallery, I like to switch around from ceramics, painting, and printmaking. So this is my first piece. This is the Familiar. So this is massive. It is a 36 by 24 woodblock print. And this is based on European folklore. So a lot of you are probably familiar with, well, familiars. They are basically the companions of witches or like the companions of characters. You see them a lot in like Disney movies now, but that's what they were back then. So for this one, whenever I was coming up with this piece, I wanted to imagine myself in one of those folklore mythologies. And this is my own cat, Shadow. I don't know how well you can see, but he's right there. And this is my desk. So this is him at my desk. And I wanted it to be a little magical. So I did some swirling lights around and a few other things, just to kind of give it that mythical feel. And this one is my most recent piece. I actually just finished this before the exhibition. This is called Healing Rivulet. So this one is a ceramic water fountain. It's not quite as big as my other one, but this one is a mixed media piece. So it is ceramic, but it's also beaded wire, as you can see hanging down. So this is about the healing journey and specifically of those who have experienced trauma or negative things throughout their life, and just how healing is often a process that is ongoing and often throughout their life. So the figure in the tree waters herself. The water comes out here, even though it looks like it's coming out of the top. But basically, I like to think of the water as a release of the negative emotions, but like the process of healing, these the water comes back up and it's the circle once again, so. Okay, and last piece I'm going to talk about right now is the Ostara bunny. So the Ostara bunny is a ceramic sculpture and it comes apart and goes back together. In the gallery, it is put back together, but here I chose to show you how it all comes apart. So the Ostara bunny is based on the duality between Ostara, which is a pagan holiday, and Easter as we know it now. So this was focusing on how holidays that we celebrate now and even some things come from taboo origins. So things like birthdays were originally pagan, and Easter was a pagan holiday before. So here I chose to represent Ostara as, at first you see it as the Easter bunny, but on closer inspection, you see things like common Ostara symbolism in the middle and the flower crown on top, which is a common adornment worn during this holiday. So thank you. And if you have any questions, find me in the gallery.
Hi, my name is Kayla Cooper. So about me, I am a multimedia artist from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I like focusing on art such as 3D, sculpture, stone carving, fibers, etc. I really enjoy creating statement pieces that challenge social ideals, things like that. And my artwork incorporates themes of feminist ideals, tearing down oppression, and seeking change. So the first piece that I really wanted to show you guys is called The Fruit of Persephone. This is a ceramic work. It's a tile mosaic, and it is inspired by the story of Persephone. This story is, in short, Hades convinces Persephone through the use of the pomegranate fruit that she enjoys being in the underworld with him. And I wanted this to show the duality of women in our society and how we are meant to taught to minimize ourselves and why we often commercialize and uphold patriarchal standards and why these ideals kind of seem so enticing to us. So this is the first piece that I wanted to show you. The second piece, this is a stone carving. It is a series, 1 of 3. The rest are also in the gallery. But this series was my way of processing a breakup. The series is focused in 3 stages: healing, acceptance, and of course, moving on. So this is that one. These stones are an abstract of the emotions and feelings behind these emotions. So in abstraction, there's not a literal way of looking at things. So the healing stone kind of represents this curling motion, almost a fetal position, and it also has the starfish-like shape to reference their regenerative nature. So how starfish grow back their limbs, how we grow and heal. The acceptance stone is heavily inspired by sand dunes and Zen gardens. So that's kind of like you're calming down, you've gone through this experience, you're accepting it, it's fine. And moving on is heavily inspired by bamboo stalks and how they grow no matter the circumstance. So as we all know, bamboo stalks are very strong. And as you move on through experiences, that is how it is. And then also the hole in the center is meant to represent kind of a loss of part of who you are in that, but also just losing that individual, losing a person in your life, and how it's happened, whether that loss is positive or negative. So the next piece is called Period Problems. This is a fiber work. It's a mini quilt with embroidery and beading. And it also has hand-dyed fabrics. So these fabrics are dyed with natural dyes. This was a part of our activism quilt project in Professor Howard's class, which is right up my alley. I love activism. So this one is a push for the normalization of periods and menstruation. It is meant to represent the natural and normal bodily functions of women and people with periods. And it's meant to create conversations about why periods, and as such a natural body function, is considered taboo in our culture and even shunned in others. This piece, one quote that I was really inspired by is by Maya Schwartz. It states, "Menstruation is the only blood that is not born from violets, yet it is the one that disgusts you the most." My next piece is Fuel for Thought. This is a ceramic tea/coffee pot. And this one is a social commentary on, this is some close-up details, just so you can see better. But this is a social commentary on the United States hustle culture and consumerism. So socially, we are expected to be so productive that many people turn to coffee, energy drinks, as you can see, and even other substances to perform at a rate that is not sustainable. We are living in a world that places productivity over health and well-being, and unfortunately, we are paying for it. So my next and final piece is called Self-Reflection. This is a ceramic work, and it is a water fountain. There's also a really small hand-carved soothing stone that's on top. I made that to help direct the flow of the water, but also it came from my healing stone, which is really fun. So it came from the base of that stone. I really love that. But this is, my purpose behind creating this was to work through, I guess, like my ideas of myself and my perception of self. And it's meant to represent an internally morphing figure, kind of evoking themes of fluidity, femininity, and introspection. So representing, I guess, my experience exploring those parts of who I am and who I am as a person and an ever-changing individual. So that is all that I have. Up next is Shelby Cox.
Wow, there's so much more of you than I thought there was. There's always behind me. So yeah, if you guys don't know, my name is Shelby. About me, I'm from Cove City, North Carolina, so by the coast. I'm a multimedia artist. I specialize mostly in ceramics and 3D art, but I've recently discovered some fiber art such as punching. I'm majoring in studio art and graphic design with a minor in criminology. Some themes about my work is faith and religion, mental health, and also just relationships. So my first piece I want to talk about with you all is Untitled. It's an 8x8. It's fabric, yarn, and monk's cloth. This is one of 2 interactive pieces that I have in the gallery. This one specifically is about a time in my life when I was really bullied heavily and I kind of like lost my self of identity, and that's represented by the right side and just kind of like stripped away. And the left side, as you'll see, it's kind of a surprise, which is why I didn't want to put it there so y'all could discover for yourselves. But when you lift the veil, you kind of see how I've now grown into who I am today and kind of getting that self of identity back. My next piece is a duality of conformity and rebellion. It's a ceramic piece. And this one has many different pieces inside. I decided to leave it out on display so you all could understand more what it's about. I originally had inspiration for this piece when I was touring colleges, and a male professor told me that I couldn't do something because I was a woman. and it definitely really impacted me a lot. I think just my education and just one of the reasons why I chose Meredith, for sure. But yeah, so as you see, I did a lot of research on just women in education in general. So there's a corset, and then when you open the box, there's a warning label. And at the time when I was making this piece, there was a lot of circulation of banned books in education. And so I decided to include some banned books. One of them is my favorite, which is Harry Potter. And yeah, and I just really want to include that, and just really the whole piece is just about women seeking higher education and how it's a right. My next piece is called My Testimony. It's a really big wall mosaic piece. It's also ceramic. And this piece, the best way to describe it, it's basically my death to life experience, finding Christ in my life. And yeah, so the story of it, it goes from bottom to top. And the bottom is when I was really depressed and when I was living for myself. The three stones are God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And then the white section with like the different waves and stuff you see is like conviction and me finding myself in Christ. And then the fruit, specifically, they're supposed to be grapes, is after, and kind of just how I found my identity in him. And yeah, so my next piece, also that one is my favorite. So you should also go see it. My next and final piece I'm going to show you guys, this is the second interactive one in the gallery. If you guys haven't already put your thumbprint on it, you should. It's a plaster and ink on canvas piece. Also, the ink I use is kid safe and stain free. So you're fine. Kids and anyone can use it. You're fine. Also, if plaster comes off, that's fine too. I'm expecting that to happen. But yeah, this piece is specifically about a verse in the Bible of mine that is really become one of my favorites. It's Isaiah 43, 1-4. I'm just gonna tell it for you guys. But now thus says the Lord, he who created you, O Jacob, he who formed you, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, you are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I give Egypt as your ransom, Cush and Seba in exchange for you, because you are precious in my eyes and honored, and I love you. I give men in return for you and peoples in exchange for your life. So yeah, this verse for me just brings a lot of comfort in just knowing that God knows that I'm precious and we're all precious in his sight. And really just for me, it shows just how much intention and detail that he's put in every single one of us, even down to how all of our fingerprints and our thumbprints are unique. And I honestly didn't really think about that until recently. Like my roommate, her fingerprint is an S and mine's circles. And I'm like, wow, like it's just so interesting to me just how different and unique it is. But yeah, you guys should definitely go put your fingerprint on it. Please do. So yeah, thank you guys. Next is Karlie Mullis.
Well, hi guys, I'm Karlie, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about my art. Okay, so I'm a 2D artist from Charlotte, but I'm here at Meredith studying studio art and English. I work mainly with acrylic paint and charcoal. I'm basically really drawn to any material that I can put down an image really fast, erase it, paint over it, start again. A lot of my paintings are just like layer on top of layer of work. And my work centers on documenting and sharing stories or a moment. So I like to say it's really influenced by my English major and just my studying of storytelling. I want my art to tell a story. I want to be a visual storyteller. And so that's kind of what a lot of my work is about. the first pieces in my exhibit or in the show that I have are 3 Days with a Stranger. And these are 2 pieces that I did in a figure drawing class here at Meredith. If you're unfamiliar with what like a figure drawing class entails, you basically have a live model come in and they sit and they pose with you for a really long time. For these classes, they sit for like 3 hours. And it's called 3 Days with a Stranger because for this special piece, it's the last piece we do in our figure drawing classes. They come back for 3 classes in a row. And so in total, each of these pieces took 9 hours to draw. But they're called 3 Days with a Stranger because obviously we don't know the model, but I was really drawn to these pieces and this idea of showcasing just like drawings of strangers because I was drawn by this idea of wanting to imagine people complexly and kind of remember I was drawing and I was thinking, what do they like? What do they eat for dinner? Where do they live? Like, what's your job? And so I was just kind of really inspired by this idea of imagining people and the lives that they're living that you don't really see, and just understanding that every person is living a whole life and it's not just you and your little bubble. And so that's kind of what these pieces explore and mean for me. And it goes into my next piece, which I honestly kind of put in because I thought it was a funny play on words for my last pieces. It's called 3 Dates with a Stranger. This is my boyfriend, and on our 3rd date, he knew I was an art major studying art. And so he's like, oh, we should go paint in the park or something. And so we did. We went and I decided not to paint. I wanted to draw. So I drew him in the park, and at this point, like 3rd date, barely knew him. So it kind of follows that theme of just spending a lot of time and attention like drawing every single detail of a person. And now he's not a stranger, so it's fun. This next piece is called Brothers, and it's also about my boyfriend. I promise I draw or do stuff that's not about my boyfriend, but these 2 pieces are. So this is actually the story of him and his brother and how, kind of like Shelby's testimony piece, how they came to know Christ as well. They're 6 feet tall. They are massive paintings. It was a massive undertaking to paint these, but they follow the story of kind of how they were confronted with the reality of, okay, like if there is a God, then I can't just ignore it. I either have to reject it or accept it. And so this is them being confronted with that and then changing their lives because of it. And so I was really experimental with these pieces. I really wanted to focus on color and texture and layers. And as I was painting them, I kept thinking, like, I feel like I'm carving. I'm not really a 3D artist, so you guys can correct me, but I was like, I feel like I'm just kind of trying to discover what this is going to look like. And I would paint something and then I would not like it and I would paint over it over and over again until I finally found what I wanted to show. For my next piece, they're called visual diaries, and it basically tells the story of my time in India. I had a wonderful opportunity to go spend 2 months in India over the summer. And when I came back, I really just needed some time to process what just happened. The culture is so different from here. And so it was honestly a really life-changing, radical experience. And so when I came back, I took a semester to kind of draw these paint these paintings and really just process, okay, what did I learn? What am I going to take away? Like, what can I share? And so that's how these came about. And I just have some close-ups for you guys. And so it kind of follows what a day in India might look like for me, like starting in the morning, reading the Bible, getting ready for the day, going out and eating. That was a very big part of my experience. And going and just being part of the culture and speaking with people, getting henna done. And so yeah, thank you for listening. Ari's gonna go next.
Hello, everyone. I'm Arianne, and I am a studio art major. So a little bit about myself. I am from Asunción, Paraguay, and I reside here in Fuquay-Varina. I am a multimedia artist. I have done a little bit of everything. I've done printmaking, ceramics, sculpture, fibers, drawing, painting, just everything that I can get my hands on. And some of my pieces are about fear, identity, everyday life, feminism, and just mental health. So my first piece is titled Creator's Legacy, Starts, Perfects, and Finish. These are inspired by my professors here at Meredith. And this is a project that I've been working on. This is a 499 project, and I wanted to focus on color and how color it's related to each person's personality and what I can take away from them. So each of them show me or like push me to start a painting or start a project. They taught me how to pay attention to detail, craftsmanship, and also how to finish strong and get things done. And here are some detail pieces I forgot about. And then the next one, this is titled La Donna in Italia. I've made this my time when I was in Italy for the Study Abroad program here. And I used this project as a way to document like a diary of my time there. We were learning about fibers and also image and advertisement. So we talked a lot about like feminist theories, and I was just having a hard time understanding all of this and like trying to get accustomed to the culture. So this is basically just a summary of what I was going through in Italy. And then this is my stone carving. It's called Surrender and Perseverance. This is a soapstone I carved with Professor Fisher. I did this as a 499 project. I really wanted to do a stone carving, and the only way for me to actually do that was to do it independently with her. And so the idea of having to do this all by myself was terrifying. And there were a lot of expectations that were put on me because of everyone telling me how beautiful the stone was and like how excited they were to see the results. So I had a lot of anxieties and like, what if something goes wrong? So that's basically what this piece is about. It's about like working through your fears and anxieties and pushing through even when you're going through that and just getting things done. Well, I'm going real fast. And this is my last piece, is titled When I Get Closer and the Light Goes Out, What's Left? So this is an installation and performance piece. It's about 4 minutes long. I started this in 2023 and is a installation piece located in the attic of my house. It's a hand made out of wire and synthetic fiber that is just hanging there. And so I was trying to understand what this meant to me and like what it represented. So I decided to take this time to basically document and journal and share this with people that are not able to see it because it's in the attic of my house. So I just wanted to, just show that vulnerability and what it means to have something this big hidden from everyone else. So yeah, those are all my pieces. So yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Hello, I'm Sara Grace Lane and I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. And I specialize in oil painting, and I specifically like to explore different mark making techniques and ways that I can layer oil paints and create more texture in my work. And I'm also drawn to the element of storytelling a lot like Karlie.
I actually tried various avenues of storytelling before I came to Meredith. I was involved in theater for a little while, and then I was an English major at NC State for about 2 weeks. And then, yeah, I decided that was definitely not for me, so more power to you, Karlie. And I decided that visual art is just definitely my mode of communication, and that's where I feel most creatively fulfilled. So the first piece that I'm going to talk about is titled Inherited from You, 1950 and 2000. And this was a piece that I originally created for my sculpture final project in Professor Jones's class. And the original form was an installation, and it was quite large, and it was very interactive. And there's a photo of it there. It definitely does not look like that today in the gallery. I have adapted it so that it fits our space, and it's more of a wall piece now. But my concept behind this piece was essentially telling the story and the legacy of female camaraderie and hospitality and women in my family. I come from a very Southern family, so food and recipes are a huge part of Southern culture, and it's basically completely female-led. So I really wanted to focus in on the feminine and Southern aesthetic. So I used lace curtains as the backdrop, and I stretched it on canvas stretcher bars. And then I printed out family photos of women in my family and tons of recipe cards from the family archive that I pulled together. And I printed them out on vellum paper, which has a really nice translucency effect. So in its original form, it was placed like separated apart, so it was kind of like a pathway where people could walk through it and they could see from one generation to the next, which really conveyed the concept I was trying to share. And then I attached the photos and the recipe cards with thread, which was kind of a nod to that women's work. The next piece I've included, I have some process videos here. This was my study abroad series, and it was obviously about my trip studying abroad. I went with Ari actually to Italy this past summer, and then I came back and I decided to do an independent project with Professor Johnson, who acted as my mentor throughout the process. And this was such a fun experience. It was so experimental. I kind of came in with this idea of somehow collaborating the aesthetic of watercolor with oils, which is like my favorite medium. And water and oils do not mix, so I didn't really know how I was going to do that. But I decided to use the absorbency of raw canvas to my advantage, and I laid it flat, and I just used acrylics like I would watercolors, and I let the water kind of push the pigment around and do what it wanted to. And then I pulled scenes out of that with oils. And that kind of lack of control that comes from not knowing where the pigment is going to go, and I used copious amounts of water, so I didn't know how it was going to dry. That kind of correlates to my concept. So when I was studying abroad, it was an incredible experience that I wouldn't trade for anything else in the world, and it was full of so many joys. But honestly, there was tons of challenges along the way as well. And if you've ever studied abroad, or if you've ever traveled abroad, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Just being in a completely different culture, it pushes you, and you're usually facing those challenges in a very raw form. So in my colors, I decided to kind of have this melancholy and moody tone to it, while also having colors that were vibrant and exciting and kind of push towards that sense of joy that I felt like being in such a cool place as Italy. And the final pieces that I have included here is titled The Giving Game, number 1 and 2. And this is a 2-part series of oil paintings that I did on wooden panel. And this is based off of the Enneagram. So I'm not sure who is familiar with the Enneagram, but it's essentially a spectrum of 9 different personality types. And they're defined by the basic fears and desires and motivations of a person. And I typically align with the type 2 Enneagram, which is known as the servant or the helper. So a negative side of a type 2 is they can tend to find their identity in helping others and being needed, whether it's through a relationship or in a passion project or something like that. So they can really lose their sense of self in the process. So being aware of that, I wanted to use this opportunity to talk about the beauty that can come from sharing out of a place of full personal identity and a creative fulfillment. So I kind of had this visual in my head of a greenhouse and how plants are cultivated and nourished in a greenhouse, which connects to that nourishment of a personal integrity and approaching those sacrificial situations with that greater integrity. So those are all my pieces. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Relota. So a little bit about me. I am a studio art major. I was born in North Dakota, but I came here to North Carolina 11-ish years ago. I don't remember, maybe more. And I currently live in Greensboro. I consider myself a multimedia artist, so I kind of like to dabble in everything. But recently I've been kind of interested in charcoal and ceramics and fibers. My work kind of differs a lot of the time as far as concept, but I kind of like to focus on the feelings that you have when you're growing up, like the transition from being a young adult to like a full adult. And being at Meredith, it really helped me grow as an artist and just being able to get a lot of feedback from both students and professors. It really helped me grow. And I know ceramics was like one of the pieces that, or one of the classes, excuse me, that really helped me to find like my artistic voice and kind of find like the direction that I want to go in with my art. And a fun fact about me is I'm graduating early. I just like to brag about that because it took me like a lot of hard work. So I just kind of want to put that in there. So my first piece is a self-portrait that I did in my painting 1 class. This doesn't necessarily have like a super conceptual idea behind it, but it is something that I'm really proud of. And it was created using a glazing technique, which is essentially just putting on really thin layers of paint and working from darkest to lightest and building up the color like that. And this was also kind of the first time that I used myself as a model. All right, this next piece is a ceramic mosaic. I made this in my ceramics 2 class. It was inspired by Dali's The Persistence of Memory, so the melting clocks that he did. It's kind of based on my fear of dying unhappy and kind of living my life with like a lot of regrets. I know a lot of people kind of say they're afraid of dying, but I'm not necessarily afraid of dying. I'm afraid of dying unhappy and not feeling like I've lived my life to the fullest. And this was definitely the first piece that kind of had, that I kind of made that had a lot of deeper symbolism. So a lot of the individual pieces kind of have a deeper meaning behind them. And it really helped me to kind of figure out like which direction I wanted to go in with my art. This next piece is a water fountain. I didn't turn it on in the gallery because we've had a lot of incidences where the water just spilled over, so we just wanted to avoid that. But it is a water fountain also made in my ceramics 2 class. The concept behind it is kind of like the loss of innocence. As you grow from a child to an adult, like as you get older, you kind of start to realize like all the negative things that are happening in the world, and you kind of start to realize like, oh, this kind of sucks sometimes. And it's not just like all fun and games and, you know, happy thoughts and everything. So obviously a birthday cake that the bear is sitting in, which is like the base of the fountain. Birthdays are obviously a symbol of growing up and getting older. And then the teddy bear itself, which is where the water comes out of, it is meant to represent childhood. And then on the inside of the cake is actually kind of like a pit of despair that the bear is sitting in. So I kind of like the contrast between like the pastel colors of the birthday cake and the bear versus the kind of dark inside of the cake. And the water that comes out of the bear's head is supposed to represent like the actual physical loss of innocence as you get older. And then my last piece is a drawing that I did in my figure drawing class. This was my final project. And this piece was made to represent kind of that idea of like wasting your youth. And it expresses the longing of wanting to live like a full, happy life, but also the jealousy and confusion that you feel when you see other people living their life, and then also wondering why you can't do the same. So yeah, the two figures in the background are also me, and they kind of represent like that longing and just kind of like that observation of other people your age, and just, I guess, kind of like comparing yourself to them and then not feeling like you're good enough or like you're not in a good place in your life. But yeah, thank you. Up next is Sara-Rose.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sara-Rose. I am a sculpture artist. I primarily focus on stone and ceramic. I'm from New Bern, North Carolina, so I am a North Carolina native. Let's go ahead and get started. This is my first piece. I completed it the fall of my sophomore year. This marked a pivotal moment not only in my art career, but also in myself as a person. I struggled a little bit in high school, as I think we all do, and this really marked the turning point where I was beginning to grow into the person I was meant to be, and it aptly represents that. The upward motion represents a sense of growth, and it is entitled Metamorphosis to represent that as well. This is my second work. It's titled Reflection of Self. You'll see that I am really fascinated with the concept of how artwork interacts with the viewer, but I also work a lot with social justice themes as well. So this piece, the center is a mirror. It is meant for you to look into it, so I welcome you to. It is hanging in the gallery. This is my third piece. It is a ceramic tea set. It's titled Tea Time. This piece was created right when the news leaked about Roe v. Wade being overturned. So this is connected back to the sense of women's rights to their own body. Tea was the first contraceptive. So it is tying in themes of social justice as well as historical. I apologize. This is another stone carving. This is a 3-piece series titled Vulnerability. It is me coming to terms with the fact that my most powerful pieces of my art are the pieces where I am vulnerable and I let people see me. I still struggle with that today, but I am striving to pour that into my artwork more. If you would like to know more about these, please ask in the gallery afterwards. This is ceramic. This is a piece I created when someone told me that I couldn't. If you know me, you know that I hate that and I will take it as a personal challenge. I was told that it just was not feasible to make ceramic chainmail, that doing ceramic chains was not possible. And I did take that as a personal challenge, and I like to think I proved them wrong. In this piece, it is my only 2D piece of this show. I am still continuing those themes of women's rights, as well as tying in themes of chains. Chains originally symbolized friendship, and so I'm really fascinated with the duality of their meaning and their perception. This is a piece that is not in the show today. I am a 2-time study abroad alum. I went for 1 summer and decided that that was not enough. So I somehow managed to go back for a semester. I was there this past fall, and I was very concerned about not being able to bring my art with me. So like the stubborn person I am, I packed a 12-pound stone in my checked bag and proceeded to carve this stone while abroad.
It is not in the show because it permanently resides in Italy. It is in San Sepolcro. If anybody here is looking at studying abroad as a Meredith student, please ask me where it is and I'll send you on a scavenger hunt when you get there. And this is my final piece of this presentation. I am just starting to work with glass and I'm loving it. This is me meshing the ceramic chains that I've made with glass. It's been a process to find the right kiln temperature, but I greatly appreciate my mentor with that. Once again, I'm continuing to push the boundaries of the materials. And anytime someone tells me I can't do something, I go, oh, yes, I can. Thank you. Wow.
Thank you for everyone for coming out. Please join us back in the gallery for the rest of the reception. Enjoy your evening. Thank you.